Hello, my wonderful friends. I'm so incredibly happy to be here with you today. I want to welcome you with a big warm heart. Today I want to share a story with you that's filled with betrayal and heartbreak, but ultimately, it's a story about hope, forgiveness, and the incredible way that faith can change everything. So, grab a cup of coffee, get cozy, and let's dive into the amazing life of Kwame. Please, before I proceed, kindly hit subscribe buttons, like, and share this video to your loved ones. Thank you so much. My dear friends, let's start at the very beginning. Imagine a family with 12 sons, and one of them is the absolute favorite of his father. That was Kwame. His father, Kofi, loved him more than all his brothers, and he didn't even try to hide it. I mean, we all know how a little bit of favoritism can cause major drama with siblings, right? But Kofi took it a step further. He had a special, colorful, long coat made for Kwame. It was a symbol. It was his way of saying, "You are my most beloved." And you can just imagine how that made the other brothers feel. Every time they looked at that coat, they saw their father's love for Kwame, and it just fueled their jealousy. They couldn't stand it. Now, if the coat wasn't enough, Kwame had another talent that made things even worse: his dreams. And he loved to share them. He came to his brothers one day, so excited. "Listen to this," he said. "I dreamed we were all in the field, tying up bundles of grain. My bundle stood up straight, and all of your bundles gathered around and bowed down to mine." Can you believe the nerve? Not only did his brothers hate him because of the coat, but now he was telling them they would one day bow down to him. The hatred just exploded. Then he had another dream. He told his father and brothers, "I dreamed the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." His father was a little annoyed, but he thought about it. For the brothers, though, this was the last straw. The jealousy and hatred were now a full-blown storm. They truly hated him. So, the brothers were out tending to the family's flocks. Kofi, being a loving father, got worried and called Kwame. "Go check on your brothers," he said. Kwame, ever the obedient son, said, "I'll do it." He had no idea this simple task would change his life forever. He set out on a long journey. But when he finally found his brothers, they saw him from a distance. The minute they recognized that colorful coat, a dark plan started to form in their minds. "Here comes the dreamer," they said to each other. "Let's kill him and throw him in a pit. We'll tell our father a wild animal ate him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." I mean, that's just a terrifying level of hatred, isn't it? Just when it seemed like the brothers' cruel plan would come true, a glimmer of humanity emerged. Ya, the oldest brother, spoke up. He said, "No, let's not kill him. Don't shed his blood. Let's just throw him into this pit. We can let him die out here, but we won't have his blood on our hands." You see, Ya had a secret plan. He was hoping to come back later and rescue Kwame to bring him back to their father. He couldn't stand the thought of killing his own brother. So, the brothers listened. When Kwame arrived, they didn't waste any time. They grabbed him, tore off that beautiful, colorful coat, and threw him into a deep, empty cistern. It was a terrifying moment. Kwame was helpless and alone in the dark, crying out to his brothers, but they just ignored him. The brothers sat down to eat, as if nothing had happened. And as they ate, they saw a caravan of traders coming toward them. These were Accra on their way to Kumasi. Suddenly, Kojo, another brother, had an idea. He said to his brothers, "What good is it to kill our brother? Let's sell him to these traders. He's our own flesh and blood." It's incredible how they went from wanting to kill him to selling him into slavery. So, they pulled Kwame out of the pit and sold him for 20 pieces of silver. Can you believe it? They sold their own brother, their father's favorite son, for the price of a slave. The act was done, and now they had to figure out how to hide their terrible crime. The brothers had to come up with a story for their father. So, they took that beautiful, colorful coat, the very symbol of their father's love, and they dipped it in the blood of a goat. It must have been a sickening thing to do. Then they took the bloody coat back to their father, Kofi. "We found this," they said. "Could this be your son's coat?" Kofi immediately recognized it. He saw the blood and was completely overwhelmed with grief. He cried out, "It is my son's coat. A wild animal has devoured him. Kwame is surely torn to pieces." He was heartbroken. He put on sackcloth and mourned for many, many days. Nothing his other sons or daughters could say would comfort him. He was convinced his beloved son was dead, and a piece of his heart was gone forever. While his father was grieving, Kwame was being taken to Accra. He was just a teenager, ripped away from his home, his family, and everything he knew. The traders sold him to a man named Nanahen, a high-ranking officer in land. Imagine being so young and suddenly finding yourself a slave in a foreign land. The language was different, the culture was different, and he was completely alone. But here's where the story takes an incredible turn. Even though Kwame had been betrayed, God was with him and blessed everything Kwame did. Nanahen saw this and realized that Kwame was special. He could see that whatever Kwame did, it was successful. He saw that God was with this young man, so he trusted him. Nanahen was so impressed with Kwame's work ethic and success that he made him his head servant. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. Nanahen trusted Kwame so completely that he didn't even bother to manage his own affairs anymore. He just ate his meals and let Kwame handle everything. Kwame was a hard worker, and he was successful at everything he did. It's an amazing testament to his character. After everything he went through, he didn't become bitter. He didn't give up. Instead, he kept his faith and worked hard, and God blessed him for it. His life was turning around. He was no longer just a slave, he was a trusted and respected leader in a powerful household. Now, here's where things get complicated. Kwame wasn't just a hard worker, he was also a very handsome young man. And Nanahen's wife noticed. She started to pay a lot of attention to him, and eventually, she tried to get him to sleep with her. Day after day, she would try to convince him, but Kwame refused. He said, "My master trusts me with everything in his house. How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Kwame wouldn't compromise his faith. But one day, she cornered him when no one else was around. She grabbed his cloak and said, "Lie with me." Kwame, in his panic, ran out of the house so fast that his cloak came off in her hand. Nanahen's wife was furious. When her husband came home, she told a terrible lie. She said, "That servant you brought us came to me to mock me." I screamed, and he ran out of the house so fast that he left his cloak behind. Nanahen was enraged. He believed his wife, and without a second thought, he had Kwame thrown into prison. This wasn't just any prison, it was the king's prison, a place for Nanahan's own prisoners. Think about how unfair this was. Kwame had done the right thing. He had shown incredible integrity, and for that, he was punished. He went from being the head of a household to being in prison for a crime he didn't commit. It must have felt like a cruel joke. He had been betrayed by his brothers, and now he was betrayed by a woman he had refused to sin with. His life had taken another dramatic plunge. So there was Kwame, in the royal prison. And you know what's amazing? God was still with him. The warden of the prison saw how Kwame carried himself. He saw that Kwame was honest and responsible, and he started to trust him. Soon, the warden put Kwame in charge of all the other prisoners. He trusted him so much that he didn't even check on anything Kwame was doing. Kwame was in charge of the entire prison. It's just incredible to see how God's favor followed him everywhere he went. In that prison, two of Nanahan's officials, his chief cupbearer and his chief baker, were also locked up. They had both offended the Nanahan. One night, they both had dreams that were deeply troubling to them, and they couldn't understand what they meant. When Kwame saw them the next morning, he noticed how sad and worried they looked. He asked, "Why are you so sad?" They told him, "We both had dreams, and there is no one here to interpret them." Kwame, knowing where his gift came from, said, "Don't interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." The cupbearer went first. He said he dreamed of a vine with 3 branches that quickly produced grapes. He pressed the grapes into a cup and gave it to Nanahan. Kwame listened and said, "This is the interpretation. In 3 days, Nanahan will restore you to your position." He then made one request. "Please remember me when things go well for you. Mention me to Nanahan and get me out of this prison." The cupbearer was so happy with this news. Then the baker told his dream. He said he dreamed he had 3 baskets of bread on his head, and the top basket had all kinds of baked goods for Nanahan. But the birds came and ate the food. Kwame's face turned serious. He said, "This is the interpretation. In 3 days, Nanahan will have you executed, and the birds will eat your flesh from you." And just as Kwame had said, 3 days later was Nanahan's birthday. Nanahan had a banquet and remembered his 2 officials. He restored the cupbearer to his position, and he had the baker executed. Kwame's interpretations were spot on, but the cupbearer forgot all about him. Kwame was left to wait in prison for 2 more years. It's a tough lesson, right? He did the right thing, helped someone out, and they forgot all about him. 2 whole years passed. Kwame was still in prison. But then, Nanahan had a problem. He had 2 dreams that were deeply troubling to him, and no one in Accra could interpret them. In his first dream, he saw 7 healthy, fat cows come out of the Nile River. Then, 7 thin, sickly cows came up and ate the fat cows. In his second dream, he saw 7 plump ears of grain growing on one stalk. Then, 7 thin, scorched ears grew up and swallowed the healthy ears. Nanahan was so disturbed by these dreams that he called all his magicians and wise men, but they couldn't give him an answer. It was a crisis. Suddenly, the chief cupbearer remembered Kwame. He said to Nanahan, "I remember my fault today. When you were angry with the chief baker and me, we were in prison. There was a young Kenya man there who interpreted our dreams for us. And what he said came to pass exactly as he said it would. Nanahan didn't waste any time. He sent for Kwame immediately. They rushed Kwame out of the prison, shaved him, gave him new clothes, and brought him before Nanahan. Kwame, a Accra prisoner, was now standing before the most powerful man in the world. Nanahan said, "I have had a dream, and I have heard that you can interpret dreams." Kwame, with all the humility in the world, said, "It is not in me." God will give Nanahan the answer he desires. He wasn't taking credit, he was giving all the glory to God. Then he listened as Nanahan told him his dreams. After hearing both dreams, Kwame said, "The two dreams are one. God is telling you what he is about to do. The 7 fat cows and the 7 plump ears are 7 years of great abundance in Accra. And the 7 thin cows and the 7 scorched ears are 7 years of severe famine. The famine will be so terrible that it will devour all the abundance that came before it." He gave Nanahan the most brilliant advice. He said, "You need to find a wise and discerning man to be in charge of the land. Let him collect 1/5 of all the harvest during the 7 years of abundance and store it up. That way, when the famine comes, the people will have food and will not starve." Nanahan was completely blown away. He turned to his officials and said, "Can we find anyone like this man, in whom the Spirit of God is?" He saw that Kwame wasn't just smart, he was divinely guided. He said to Kwame, "Since God has shown you all this, there is no one as wise as you. You will be in charge of my palace, and all my people will do as you command. Only I will be greater than you." Nanahan gave Kwame his signet ring, a symbol of his authority. He dressed him in fine linen clothes, put a gold chain around his neck, and gave him a chariot. People would shout, "Bow the knee." Wherever he went, Kwame went from being a prisoner to the second most powerful man in Accra, all because he trusted in God. Just as Kwame predicted, the 7 years of abundance came. The land produced more than anyone could have imagined. Kwame was so busy. He traveled all over Accra, collecting grain and storing it in the cities. He stored so much grain that he eventually stopped keeping track because there was no way to count it all. It was a time of incredible prosperity, all thanks to Kwame's wisdom and foresight. He also had 2 sons during this time. He named the first Kwesi, which means, "God has made me forget all my trouble." And he named the second Niam Adam, which means, "God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction." It shows how his perspective had changed. He wasn't dwelling on the past. He was grateful for the new life and the blessings God had given him. He was truly living a new life, a complete transformation from the broken teenager sold into slavery. Then, the 7 years of famine began. It was so severe that it spread across the land. But in Accra, because of Kwame's plan, there was food. People from all over the world came to Accra to buy grain. And who did they have to go to? Kwame, the man in charge. The famine was so bad that it reached Kojo's homeland, Kenya. Kofi, his father, heard there was grain in Accra and sent his 10 oldest sons there to buy food. He didn't send Abdul, Kwame's younger brother, because he was afraid something bad would happen to him, just like he thought happened to Kwame. Can you imagine the moment? The 10 brothers, the same ones who sold Kwame into slavery, came to Accra to buy food. And they came to the man in charge, Kwame. When Kwame saw his brothers, he immediately recognized them, but they had no idea who he was. They bowed down to him with their faces to the ground, fulfilling the very dreams they had hated him for. Kwame, in his power, could have had his revenge. But he had a different plan. He put them through a series of tests to see if they had changed. He saw their remorse and their love for their younger brother, Abdul. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He had everyone leave the room, and he broke down, crying out loud. He said, "I am your brother, Kwame. Is my father still living?" His brothers were so shocked and terrified they couldn't even answer. Kwame said, "Don't be distressed or angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was God who sent me ahead of you to preserve life." This is the most powerful part of the story. Kwame wasn't angry. He had found his purpose in his suffering. He knew that all the betrayal and pain he went through was part of God's plan to save his family. He showed them mercy and forgiveness and brought his entire family to Accra to live in safety. He proved that even the most terrible acts can be turned into something beautiful. This story is a beautiful reminder that our suffering can have a purpose we can't see, and that forgiveness and love are the most powerful forces in the world. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey. I hope this story has given you a little bit of hope and a lot of inspiration. What part of Kwame's story resonated with you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching Kwame's story. If it touched you, please like, share, and comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories full of hope and joy. Your support means the world to me, and it keeps these stories alive for everyone to enjoy.